Hot news today.
Iran's latest strikes on Tel Aviv, Haifa kill at least 8, damage U.S. Embassy building. Iranian missiles struck the Israeli cities of Tel Aviv and Haifa before dawn Monday, killing at least 8 people and damaging a U.S. embassy, leading Israel's defense minister to warn that those in Tehran will pay the price and soon. Some 65 ballistic missiles and dozens of drones were launched at Israel in 2 barrages Sunday night and Monday morning, IDF spokesman Brig General Efi Defrin said, according to the Times of Israel. While most were intercepted, 3 impacts killed 8 people, bringing Israel's death toll to 24 since Friday, and hundreds of others were wounded, he said. Alarmingly, the volley damaged the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. It was not immediately clear if the shelter was directly targeted. But the American embassies and consulates remain closed with a shelter-in-place order. Israel's health ministry claimed 287 people were hospitalized overnight as a result of the attacks. Most of the injuries were minor, with just 1 person in serious condition, the agency said, according to the Times of Israel. Israel swiftly vowed to respond. The arrogant dictator of Tehran has become a cowardly murderer who targets the civilian home front in Israel to deter the IDF from continuing the attack that is collapsing his capabilities, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, said in a statement. The residents of Tehran will pay the price, and soon, he warned, later stressing that Israel had no intention of deliberately harming civilians. The wave of attacks by Tehran comes in retaliation for Israel's preemptive strikes targeting Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The IDF reportedly resumed striking targets in Iran on Monday morning. Search and location operations were underway in Haifa where dozens of people were wounded, emergency authorities said, as first responders rushed to the strike zones. Fires were seen burning at a power plant near the city's key port, media reported. Video footage showed several missiles over Tel Aviv and explosions could be heard there and over Jerusalem. Several residential buildings in a densely populated neighborhood of Tel Aviv were destroyed in a strike that blew out the windows of hotels and other nearby homes just a few hundred meters from the U.S. Embassy branch in the city. Guido Tetelbaum was in his apartment in Tel Aviv when the alerts came in shortly after 4 a.m. As usual, we went into the shelter, that's right across the street there. And within minutes, the door of the shelter blew in, the 31-year-old chef said. A couple of people came in bloody, all cut up. And then when we came to the apartment, after it quietened down, we saw there wasn't much of it. Walls are caved in, no more glass, he added. It's terrifying because it's so unknown. This could be the beginning of a long time like this, or it could get worse, or hopefully better, but it's the unknown that's the scariest. The pre-dawn missiles struck near Shuk HaCarmel, a popular market in Tel Aviv that typically draws large crowds of residents and tourists buying fresh fruits and vegetables, and to popular bars and restaurants. A residential street in nearby Petah Tikva and a school in ultra-Orthodox Jewish city Bnei Brak were also hit. New method. Iran's Revolutionary Guards said the latest attack employed a new method that caused Israel's multi-layered defense systems to target each other. The initiatives and capabilities used in this operation, despite the comprehensive support of the United States and Western powers and the possession of the most up-to-date and newest defense technology, led to the successful and maximum hitting of the missiles on the targets in the occupied territories, it said. The Israeli military did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the strikes. Israeli officials have repeatedly said its Iron Dome defense system is not 100% and warned of tough days ahead. The death toll in Iran had reached at least 224, with 90% of the casualties reported to be civilians, an Iranian health ministry spokesperson said. Israel's military said on Monday morning it had struck again at command centers belonging to the Revolutionary Guard and Iran's military. Defense Minister Israel Katz said Monday Israel is not attempting to harm Iranian civilians in Tehran, but will displace them when necessary. The residents of Tehran will be forced to bear the cost of the dictatorship and evacuate their homes from areas where it will be necessary to strike regime targets and security infrastructure in Tehran, he says. Leaders meet. Group of 7 leaders began gathering in the Canadian Rockies on Sunday with the Israel-Iran conflict expected to be a top priority. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said his goals for the summit include for Iran to not develop or possess nuclear weapons, ensuring Israel's right to defend itself, avoiding escalation of the conflict and creating room for diplomacy. This issue will be very high on the agenda of the G7 summit, Merz told reporters. Before leaving for the summit on Sunday, U.S. President Donald Trump was asked what he was doing to de-escalate the situation. "I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal," he told reporters. "Sometimes they have to fight it out." Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian told Parliament on Monday that the country has no intention to produce nuclear weapons, but it would continue to pursue its right to nuclear energy and research. Brent crude futures were up 70 cents, or 1%, to $74.94 a barrel in Asian trade on Monday, having jumped as much as $4 earlier in the session. While the spike in oil prices has investors on edge, stock and currency markets were little moved in Asia. Trump vetoes plan to target Khamenei, officials say. In Washington, 2 U.S. officials told Reuters that Trump had vetoed an Israeli plan in recent days to kill Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. When asked about the Reuters report, Netanyahu told Fox News on Sunday, "There's so many false reports of conversations that never happened, and I'm not going to get into that. We do what we need to do," he told Fox's special report with Brett Baer. Israel began the assault with a surprise attack on Friday that wiped out the top echelon of Iran's military command and damaged its nuclear sites, and says the campaign will escalate in the coming days. Iran has vowed to open the gates of hell in retaliation. Trump warns Iran not to attack U.S. targets. Trump has lauded Israel's offensive while denying Iranian allegations that the U.S. has taken part and warning Tehran not to widen its retaliation to include U.S. targets. 2 U.S. officials said on Friday the U.S. military had helped shoot down Iranian missiles that were headed toward Israel. The U.S. president has repeatedly said Iran could end the war by agreeing to tough restrictions on its nuclear program, which Iran says is for peaceful purposes but which Western countries and the IAEA nuclear watchdogs say could be used to make an atomic bomb. The latest round of nuclear negotiations between Iran and the U.S., due last Sunday, was scrapped after Tehran said it would not negotiate while under Israeli attack. NY Post.
Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.